Friends, worry is one of the quietest ways you can lose your strength without noticing it. Your body may be sitting still, but your mind is already fighting tomorrow, replaying yesterday, and creating dangers that have not even appeared. You call it preparation, but sometimes you are only exhausting yourself before the real moment arrives. A strong mind does not ignore risk, and it does not pretend life will always go well. It learns how to face uncertainty without feeding it unnecessary energy. Because there is a point where careful thinking ends and worry begins. And if you cannot recognize that point, fear starts making decisions for you. The question is not whether problems will come. The question is whether your mind will be ready when they do. 1. Stop treating every thought like a warning. The first discipline you must develop is learning that a thought appearing in your mind does not automatically mean danger is approaching. The mind produces thoughts constantly, and many of them are only possibilities, memories, assumptions, or reactions to uncertainty. Yet when you are worried, you begin treating each uncomfortable thought as if it were a message that demands immediate attention. You think about something going wrong, and suddenly your body becomes tense, your breathing changes, and your attention moves away from the life happening in front of you. Nothing has actually happened, but your mind has already started defending itself against an event that may never come. You must learn to create some distance between what enters your mind and what you choose to believe. When a fearful thought appears, do not immediately follow it into every possible ending. Look at it carefully and ask yourself whether there is something real that requires action now, or whether your imagination is simply trying to create certainty where certainty does not exist. This is important because the mind can make a possibility feel like a fact when you examine it for too long. The more attention you give to an imagined danger, the more convincing it becomes, even when there is little evidence behind it. Strength of mind does not mean forcing yourself to think positively or pretending that problems cannot happen. It means seeing a thought clearly without allowing that thought to control your emotional state. If there is a genuine problem, deal with what is actually in front of you. If there is nothing you can do at this moment, return your attention to the present instead of continuing an argument with your imagination. Your energy is valuable, and every unnecessary mental battle takes something away from your concentration, patience, judgment, and ability to act when action is truly required. Train yourself to observe your thoughts, the way a skilled fighter observes movement without reacting blindly to every motion. You do not need to attack every shadow, and you do not need to prepare for every disaster your mind can invent. Let thoughts arrive, examine them calmly, take useful information from them when it exists, and allow the rest to pass without turning it into a warning. When you stop believing that every fearful thought deserves your obedience, your mind becomes quieter, your decisions become clearer, and you begin saving your strength for the realities that genuinely deserve it. Refuse to rehearse the same fear again and again. Worry becomes powerful when you keep returning to the same fear as if repetition will somehow give you control over it. You replay the conversation that has not happened. Imagine the bad news before it arrives. Picture the mistake before you make it, and then repeat the entire scene again. At first, this may feel like preparation because your mind is busy examining every possibility, but after a certain point you are no longer preparing for anything. You are simply training yourself to experience the same fear many times before reality has even asked you to face it once. Understand what repetition does to the mind. Whatever you practice becomes easier to return to. If you repeatedly rehearse fear, your mind begins to choose fear more quickly whenever uncertainty appears. A small delay starts to feel dangerous. A simple silence becomes suspicious, and an ordinary problem begins to look larger than it really is. You have taught your attention to search for threats, not because the world has suddenly become more dangerous, but because your thinking has developed a habit of circling around the same negative possibility. This is where discipline becomes necessary. When you notice yourself entering the same mental scene again, do not try to defeat it by thinking even harder. Recognize that you have already visited this question and decide whether there is any new information available. If nothing has changed, another hour of thinking will not create a better answer. Direct your attention towards something that requires your presence now, whether it is your work, your breathing, your surroundings, a conversation, or a useful action you can actually complete. You are not running away from the problem, You are refusing to waste strength on a problem that cannot be solved through repetition. A fighter who performs the same useless movement again and again becomes tired without becoming more effective. Your mind works in the same way. Thought must have purpose. Reflection should lead to understanding, decision, preparation, or action. When it produces nothing except another round of fear, you must know when to stop feeding it. Do not measure responsibility by how much you worry. Measure it by how clearly you see the situation and how wisely you respond. You may not be able to prevent every difficult outcome, but you can refuse to suffer through the same imagined outcome 20 times before anything has happened. Break that rehearsal, return to reality, and train your mind to spend its strength only where strength can make a difference. Train your mind to leave unfinished questions alone. The hardest thing for the mind to accept is a question that cannot yet be answered. You want to know what will happen, what another person is thinking, whether your decision will succeed, when something will change, or how a situation will finally end. When the answer is unavailable, the mind often refuses to accept the empty space. It begins searching, guessing, connecting small details, and creating explanations simply because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. But you must understand that not every question becomes clearer because you think about it longer. Some answers belong to time, experience, or information that has not arrived yet. If you cannot leave an unfinished question alone, you give it permission to follow you everywhere. You may be working, eating, resting, or speaking with someone, yet part of your attention remains trapped inside that unanswered situation. Your mind keeps checking it as though something new might suddenly appear, but usually you find the same uncertainty waiting for you. This constant checking does not bring you closer to the truth. It only divides your attention and prevents you from giving yourself fully to what is actually happening. Train yourself to recognize when you have reached the limit of what can be known today. Gather the facts that are available. Make any decision that can reasonably be made, and then allow the remaining uncertainty to remain unfinished. This is not carelessness, it is mental discipline. You are accepting that reality does not always reveal itself according to your preferred schedule, and forcing an answer before it exists often leads you toward assumptions rather than understanding. Think of a fighter waiting for an opponent to move. If he tries to predict every possible attack at the same time, his body becomes tense and his reactions become confused. He watches carefully, but he does not invent movements that have not occurred. Your mind needs the same patience. Stay aware without demanding certainty. When new information appears, you can respond to it then. There is great strength in being able to say, "I do not know yet," without allowing those words to disturb your entire inner state. You do not need to complete every story tonight, or solve tomorrow before you sleep. Leave space for life to reveal what you cannot force from it. When you stop chasing answers that are not available, your attention returns to you. Your judgment becomes calmer, and you preserve the energy you will need when the real answer finally arrives. Do not let one uncertain moment poison the entire day. You must be careful not to give one uncertain moment more power than it deserves. Something happens in the morning that you cannot immediately understand. Perhaps someone does not respond as expected. A plan suddenly changes. You receive incomplete information, or you notice something that makes you uncomfortable. The event itself may last only a few minutes, yet your mind can carry it for the next 10 hours. You continue working, eating, speaking, and moving through your responsibilities, but underneath everything you are still holding that one moment, examining it from different angles, and allowing it to influence how you experience everything that comes afterward. This is how worry quietly expands. It takes one small area of uncertainty and spreads its emotional weight across parts of your life that have nothing to do with the original problem. A difficult morning makes the afternoon feel heavy. One unexpected message changes the way you speak to people who were not involved. A concern about tomorrow prevents you from enjoying something good that is happening today. Soon you are no longer responding to one uncertain situation. You are living the entire day through the emotion it created. You must learn to contain a problem instead of allowing it to occupy your whole mind. If something requires attention, give it the attention it deserves, but do not give it everything you have. Ask yourself what has actually changed and what remains exactly as it was before the worry appeared. Your responsibilities are still there. The people around you still deserve your presence. Your body still needs care. and there may still be useful work and peaceful moments available to you. One unknown answer does not cancel everything that remains stable and valuable. Imagine a fighter who receives one unexpected strike and then spends the rest of the match thinking about it. His attention is no longer on what is happening now because he is mentally trapped in what happened moments earlier. The first strike may have hurt him, but his fixation creates a second disadvantage because it steals his ability to see clearly. In the same way, uncertainty may disturb you once, but you do not have to keep disturbing yourself on its behalf. When you notice that one concern has begun coloring the entire day, deliberately return to what is directly in front of you. Complete the next task carefully. Listen when someone speaks to you. Notice your surroundings and give your full attention to the part of life you can actually touch. You are not pretending the concern has disappeared. You are placing it in its proper position instead of allowing it to become the background of everything. Remember that emotions often try to convince you that because one thing feels wrong, everything is wrong. Do not accept this judgment without examining it. A day can contain uncertainty and still contain progress. You can be waiting for an answer and still laugh with someone you love. You can have a difficult decision ahead and still perform your work with excellence. You can feel uncomfortable about one part of life without surrendering every other part to that discomfort. This ability is a form of strength because it keeps your mind flexible rather than allowing one experience to harden your entire state. Life will rarely arrange itself so that every question is answered before you are allowed to feel peaceful. If you wait for complete certainty before you permit yourself to live fully, you will spend too much of your life waiting. So when uncertainty enters your day, acknowledge it without building your day around it. Give the situation the space it genuinely requires, then continue moving with awareness and purpose. Protect the hours that have not been damaged simply because one moment was difficult. A strong mind understands that one cloud does not have to become the whole sky, and one unanswered part of your life does not deserve control over everything that is still within your hands. Build a mind that can sit with not knowing. Much of your worry does not come from what has happened, but from your demand to know what will happen next. You want certainty before you move, reassurance before you rest, and proof that everything will turn out the way you hope. When life refuses to give you these guarantees, the mind becomes restless and begins searching for something solid to hold. Yet life has never promised complete certainty, and if your peace depends on knowing every outcome in advance, your peace will always remain fragile. You must develop the ability to stand inside uncertainty without immediately trying to escape from it. This does not mean becoming passive or careless about your future. It means understanding the difference between what can be discovered through action and what can only be revealed with time. There will be periods when you have done everything reasonably available to you, yet the answer is still not ready. In those moments, strength is shown by your ability to continue living without forcing your mind to manufacture certainty. Notice what happens when you cannot tolerate not knowing. You may begin reading too deeply into small details, searching for reassurance from other people, checking situations repeatedly, or imagining outcomes simply because having any answer feels easier than having no answer. The danger is that your mind may prefer a frightening conclusion over uncertainty, because at least the frightening conclusion feels definite. You then suffer from something that has not been proven, simply because you are unwilling to leave the future open. A disciplined mind learns another way. When you do not know, admit that you do not know, and remain steady. There is nothing weak about this. In fact, it requires greater courage than pretending you have certainty where none exists. You can tell yourself that more information may come tomorrow, circumstances may change, people may reveal their intentions through their actions, and possibilities you cannot currently see may appear. Until then, you do not need to fill the empty space with fear. Think about water. Water does not become useless because it cannot see the entire path ahead. It responds to the shape of the ground as it reaches it, moving around obstacles without demanding that the whole journey be revealed beforehand. Your mind can learn this same flexibility. Deal with what is present, adjust when conditions change, and stop demanding knowledge that belongs to a moment you have not reached. You should also understand that uncertainty is not always a sign that something bad is approaching. Sometimes uncertainty simply means that life is still moving. A situation may develop in your favor, an opportunity may appear unexpectedly, or something you feared may never happen at all. When you automatically connect the unknown with danger, you turn an open future into a negative one, without evidence. Practice remaining calm when an answer is delayed. Let the discomfort exist without immediately obeying it. Continue your work, maintain your routines, take care of your body, and stay connected to the reality around you. Each time you do this, you teach your nervous system that uncertainty can be uncomfortable without being an emergency. Gradually, the unknown loses some of its power because you discover that you can function even while important questions remain unresolved. The strongest mind is not the mind that knows what is coming. It is the mind that trusts its ability to meet what comes. You do not need tomorrow to promise you an easy road before you can stand firmly today. Build confidence in your ability to observe, adapt, decide, and respond when the moment arrives. When you can sit peacefully beside what you do not yet know, uncertainty stops controlling you, and your energy becomes available for the life that is already here. Stop using worry as a substitute for preparation. There is an important difference between preparing for difficulty and worrying about difficulty. Yet many people confuse the two because both involve thinking about the future. Preparation takes uncertainty and turns part of it into useful action, while worry keeps uncertainty moving around inside your mind without changing anything outside of it. You can spend an entire evening thinking about what might go wrong and feel mentally exhausted afterward, but exhaustion is not evidence that you have prepared. Sometimes it only means you have been carrying possibilities instead of dealing with realities. When something concerns you, train yourself to ask what can actually be done. If you are worried about an important conversation, decide what you need to communicate and how you want to conduct yourself. If you are concerned about a difficult task, identify what you need to learn, organize, or practice before beginning. If money is creating pressure, look carefully at the numbers and determine which decisions are available to you. The moment your concern becomes specific, you give yourself a chance to act intelligently instead of allowing vague fear to control your attention. Worry often feels productive because the mind remains active. It examines one possibility, moves to another, returns to the first, and then searches for another danger that may have been missed. This activity creates the feeling that you are doing something important, but movement inside the mind is not always progress. A fighter can throw 100 careless strikes into the air and still be less prepared than someone who spends that time correcting one weakness with full attention. What matters is not how much energy you use, but whether that energy improves your position. Preparation also has a natural stopping point. Once you have gathered the necessary information, made a reasonable plan, practiced what can be practiced, and created a response for the risks you can realistically expect, you must allow yourself to stop. You cannot prepare for every possible version of the future because life contains too many variables. Trying to remove all uncertainty before you act will eventually become another form of avoidance. At some point, you must trust the work you have done and meet the remaining unknown when it arrives. Learn to convert nervous energy into something concrete. Write down the next action instead of mentally carrying 10 possible disasters. Make the phone call, complete the research, organize what you need, ask the necessary questions, or improve the skill that makes you more capable. Even a small, useful action can reduce confusion because it reminds you that you are not helpless. Worry asks you to imagine your weakness, while preparation gives you evidence of your ability to respond. You should also accept that good preparation does not guarantee a perfect outcome. You may prepare carefully and still face surprise, disappointment, or change. The purpose of preparation is not to control life completely. It is to make you more ready to respond when life moves differently from what you expected. This is why flexibility matters more than endless prediction. A rigid plan can break when circumstances change, but a prepared mind can observe what is happening, adjust its approach, and continue forward without losing itself. So when worry begins to rise, do not ask how many things could go wrong. Ask what deserves action now. Give your attention to what can be improved, arranged, practiced, prevented, or decided, and then release what remains beyond your reach. Your mind was not designed to control tomorrow through fear. Use it to prepare your hands, sharpen your judgment, and strengthen your response. When preparation is complete, let the mind become quiet because you will need that unused energy when the real moment finally comes. Decide what deserves your energy before fear decides for you. Your energy is limited, and if you do not consciously decide where it belongs, fear will gladly make that decision for you. Every day places many things in front of your mind: responsibilities, relationships, goals, problems, possibilities, memories, and situations you cannot control. They do not all deserve the same amount of attention, yet worry has a way of making the uncertain thing feel more important than everything else. A problem that has not happened can suddenly receive more mental energy than the work, people, and opportunities that are already present in your life. This is why you must become selective with your attention. Before you give hours of thought to something, ask yourself whether it deserves that investment. Is there a decision you need to make, an action you can take, or a responsibility that genuinely belongs to you? If the answer is yes, give it focused attention and deal with it properly. If the situation is outside your influence, has not happened, or depends entirely on another person's choices, then recognize the boundary. Caring about something does not mean you must carry it in your mind every minute. Fear does not naturally respect these boundaries. It will pull your attention toward whatever feels threatening, even when that threat has little importance compared with what you are neglecting. You may have meaningful work in front of you, but your mind wants to examine a small uncertainty. You may be spending time with someone you care about, yet part of you is somewhere else, thinking about what could happen next week. Slowly, the imagined future begins consuming the strength that could have been used to build the present. A martial artist cannot afford to respond with full force to every movement around him. He must recognize what matters, what is merely distraction, and where his energy will have the greatest effect. If he reacts to everything, he becomes predictable and exhausted. Your mind requires the same discipline. Not every concern deserves an emotional reaction, not every possibility deserves investigation, and not every uncomfortable feeling deserves a change of direction. Begin your day with a clear sense of what matters to you. Know which responsibilities require your best concentration, which relationships deserve your presence, and which personal standards you intend to maintain regardless of your mood. When worry appears, compare it against these priorities instead of automatically placing it above them. This gives your attention somewhere stronger to return to, because you are no longer asking fear what matters. You have already decided. There will also be moments when you must deliberately allow something to remain outside your control. Another person may misunderstand you, an opportunity may disappear, a plan may change, or an outcome may remain uncertain despite your best efforts. You can acknowledge these realities without giving them unlimited access to your inner strength. Acceptance does not mean you approve of everything that happens. It means you understand where your influence ends and refuse to spend yourself fighting beyond that line. Protecting your energy also means recognizing that attention has a cost. Every hour spent feeding unnecessary fear is an hour that cannot be given to learning, creating, recovering, training, connecting, or solving something real. When you see attention as a valuable resource, rather than something the world can freely take from you, you become more careful about where you place it. So decide in advance what deserves your strength. Give your energy to actions that improve your position, people who genuinely matter, responsibilities that belong to you, and the growth that makes you more capable. Let fear speak if it must, but do not automatically hand it control. A strong mind is not strong because nothing disturbs it. It is strong because disturbance does not decide its direction. When you choose where your attention goes, you choose what grows inside you, and that is how you stop worrying from spending the strength you were meant to use for living. Worry will always ask for one more thought, one more prediction, one more reason to believe you are not safe yet. But a strong mind knows when thinking has stopped helping and fear has started wasting energy. You cannot control every delay, every disappointment, or every outcome waiting ahead, but you can control where your attention goes today. Prepare what you can, act where action is possible, and stop fighting futures that have not arrived. Strength is not the absence of uncertainty. Strength is refusing to let uncertainty command your mind. Protect your energy, return to what is real, and remember this: tomorrow does not deserve the strength you need for today.